The bar was dark and smoky. Different kinds of alien creatures sat at small tables, drinking and talking quietly. Some had blue skin, others had long tails, and a few had 4 arms. This was the Nexus, a space station where anyone could come and be safe. Zekthor Vex sat alone in the corner. He was a Krillian, which meant he was tall and had gray skin like stone. 2 small horns grew from his head, and his eyes were bright yellow. He wore simple work clothes now, but 20 years ago, he had been a commander in the Great War against humans. A human woman walked up to his table. She had long black hair and carried a small recording device. Her name was Luna Martinez, and she was a journalist. She wanted to write stories about the war. "Excuse me," Luna said politely. "Are you Zekthor Vex?" Zekthor looked up from his drink. His yellow eyes studied her face. "Who wants to know?" "My name is Luna Martinez. I'm a writer. I want to ask you about the war." "No." Zekthor turned away. "I don't talk about the war." Luna sat down anyway. "Please. I'm not here to make humans look good. I want to tell the real story. What it was really like." "You humans always want stories," Zekthor said. "Stories where you are the heroes." A human man walked over from behind the bar. He was tall with brown hair and kind eyes. His name was Jake Connor, and he owned the Nexus bar. "Hey Luna," Jake said. "Having trouble?" "This is Zekthor Vex," Luna explained. "He won't talk to me about the war." Jake looked at Zekthor with respect. "Commander Vex, I heard about you. You fought at Kepler Station." Zekthor's eyes got wide. "How do you know about that?" "I was there too," Jake said quietly. "Different side, but I was there. Luna here is good people. She lost her brother in the war. She just wants the truth." Luna nodded. "My brother died at the Battle of New Mars. I don't want to make anyone look bad. I just want people to understand what really happened." Zekthor was quiet for a long time. He drank from his glass and thought. Finally, he spoke. "The truth about fighting humans?" he asked. "The truth is that it was a nightmare. Your people, you don't fight like anyone else in the galaxy." "What do you mean?" Luna asked. She turned on her recording device. "Sit down, Jake," Zekthor said. "You should hear this too." Jake pulled up a chair. The 3 of them sat around the small table. "I was a commander then," Zekthor began. "I led attack ships. We thought humans would be easy to beat. You were new to space. You had small ships and simple weapons. We were wrong." "What happened at your first battle?" Luna asked. Zekthor closed his eyes and remembered. "It was at Kepler Station, a small human base near your home system. We sent 50 ships. They had maybe 10 ships to defend it." He paused and drank again. "We should have won in minutes. But humans don't give up, even when they should." "Tell me what you saw," Luna said softly. "Their ships were damaged. Some had holes in them, but they kept fighting. One human ship lost its engines. It should have retreated. Instead, it used its last fuel to ram one of our big cruisers." Jake nodded. "That sounds like us." "That was just the beginning," Zekthor continued. "When we boarded the station, we found human soldiers who had been fighting for days without sleep. They were hurt and hungry, but they wouldn't surrender." "Why did that scare you?" Luna asked. "Because we couldn't understand it," Zekthor explained. "In our culture, when you lose, you surrender. It saves lives. But humans keep fighting even when they cannot win. It's not normal." He looked at both humans. "I watched a human soldier with a broken arm hold off 10 of my warriors. She was bleeding and could barely stand. But she kept shooting until we finally got past her." "Did she die?" Luna asked quietly. "No. That's what made it worse. When we captured her, she looked at us and smiled. She said, 'You won't take this station.' We thought she was crazy." "But you did take the station," Jake said. "Yes. But it took us 3 days instead of 3 hours. And she was right about something else." "What?" Luna asked. "We couldn't keep it. 2 weeks later, humans came back with a bigger fleet. They fought like demons to get their station back. They lost more ships than we did, but they never stopped coming. Zekthor shook his head. That's when I started to understand. Humans don't just fight for victory. You fight for each other. That wounded soldier wasn't trying to win. She was buying time for her friends to escape. Is that why you called it a nightmare? Luna asked. Partly. But there was more. Humans adapt too fast. Every time we used a new weapon or tactic, you found a way to stop it. Sometimes in just days. Jake smiled. We're pretty good at solving problems. Too good, Zekthor said. We had weapons that worked against every other species in the galaxy. But humans always found weaknesses. You turned our own weapons against us. What was the worst part? Luna asked. Zekthor was quiet for a moment. The worst part was realizing that we had started a war with the wrong species. Other races fight for territory or resources. Humans fight for ideas. What kind of ideas? Freedom. Protecting the weak. Justice. Zekthor looked directly at Luna. You can beat someone who fights for gold or land. But how do you beat someone who fights for their family? For their beliefs. We almost lost the war several times, Jake said. It wasn't easy for us either. But you never quit, Zekthor said. Even when your cities burned. Even when we killed millions of your people. You just got more angry and fought harder. Luna leaned forward. Is that when you knew humans would win? No, Zekthor said. I knew humans would win when I saw something impossible. What was that? Zekthor finished his drink and looked at them both. I saw humans show mercy to their enemies. Even in the middle of a war, some of your people tried to help wounded Krillian soldiers. That surprises you? Luna asked. It terrified me. An enemy who hates you is predictable. But an enemy who shows kindness? Who tries to save your life even while fighting you? That kind of enemy can change your mind. And that's the most dangerous weapon of all. Jake nodded slowly. Want another drink? This sounds like a long story. Zekthor looked at his empty glass, then at Luna's hopeful face. Yes. I think I need another drink for what comes next. As Jake went to get more drinks, Luna smiled. Thank you for talking to me. Don't thank me yet, Zekthor said grimly. You haven't heard about the nightmare tactics. You haven't heard about the things that still wake me up at night. The story was just beginning. Jake came back with 3 glasses of blue liquid. It was strong alien alcohol that burned going down. Zekthor drank some and continued his story. After Kepler Station, the war got worse, he said. Much worse. The human military learned fast. Too fast. What changed? Luna asked. They stopped fighting like we expected. They started using what you call nightmare tactics. Jake raised an eyebrow. I never heard that term. That's what we called them, Zekthor explained. Because they gave us nightmares. Humans would do things that should have killed them, but somehow they survived. He looked up at the ceiling, remembering. The worst was at Proxima Prime. It was a big Krillian colony world. We had 3 million civilians there and a strong defense fleet. I remember that battle, Luna said. It was in all the history books. Your books don't tell the real story, Zekthor said darkly. They don't tell you about Captain Lisa Brooks and her ghost squad. Who were they? 40 human Marines. They were dropped on the planet in the middle of our biggest city. Their mission was supposed to be simple: destroy our communication center and leave. Zekthor drank again. His hands shook slightly. But something went wrong. Their escape ships were shot down. They were trapped on a planet with 3 million enemies. What did they do? They disappeared. Like ghosts. That's why we called them the Ghost Squad. For 2 weeks, we couldn't find them. But every night, something exploded. Power stations. Weapon factories. Supply depots. Jake leaned forward. 40 Marines did all that. Worse. They were inside our heads. They hacked our communication systems and played strange human music at night. They left messages written on walls. Pictures of human skulls. They wanted us scared. Did it work? Luna asked. 3 million Krillians were afraid to sleep, Zekthor said. Our soldiers jumped at shadows. Parents kept their children inside. And still we couldn't find them. How did it end? We finally tracked them to the old mining tunnels under the city. They had been living underground like rats. We sent 5,000 soldiers to get them. Zekthor's voice got quiet. When we broke into their hideout, we found 38 of them. They had built walls from mining equipment and scrap metal. They had been eating mushrooms and drinking dirty water for 2 weeks. Only 38? Jake asked. What happened to the other 2? They were dying. One had an infection in his leg. The other had taken shrapnel in her chest. But the healthy ones wouldn't leave them behind. Luna touched a recording device to make sure it was still working. So you captured them? We tried. Captain Brooks stood up when she saw us. She was covered in dirt and blood. Her uniform was torn. But she looked at us like we were the ones who should be afraid. What did she say? She said, "Boys, looks like we got company. Let's give them a proper welcome." Then all 38 of them started shooting. Zekthor shook his head in amazement. They had no food, no clean water, no hope of rescue. But they fought like demons. It took us 6 hours to kill them all. None of them surrendered? Jake asked. Captain Brooks was the last one alive. She had been shot 4 times. She was bleeding out on the floor. I walked up to her and asked why she didn't surrender. What did she say? She looked me right in the eyes and said, "Because you would hurt innocent people if we gave up." Then she died. The table was quiet for a moment. Luna wiped her eyes. "That's not the worst part," Zekthor continued. "The worst part was what we found in their hideout." "What?" "Medical supplies. Human medicine. But not for humans. For Krillian children." Jake frowned. "I don't understand. While they were blowing up our military targets, they were also sneaking into hospitals. They were giving medicine to sick Krillian babies. Human medicine that worked better than ours." Luna stared at him. "They were helping your people's children?" "Yes." "We found a list in Captain Brooks' pocket. Names of 47 Krillian children who would have died without human medicine. While we hunted them like animals, they were saving our kids." "That doesn't make sense," Jake said. "Why help their enemies' children?" I asked the same question. Later in the war, I captured a human medic named Ryan Walsh. I asked him why humans do this. What did he say? He said, "Children are children. It doesn't matter what species they are. If they're hurt, you help them." Zekthor finished his drink. Ryan Walsh was interesting. He was a doctor who came to the war to save human soldiers. But he also treated wounded Krillians. Even enemy soldiers? Yes. I saw him operate on a Krillian warrior who had been trying to kill humans an hour before. Ryan worked for 6 hours to save his life. Did the Krillian survive? Yes. And when he woke up, Ryan was sitting next to his bed. The Krillian asked why a human had saved him. Ryan said, "Because you were dying and I'm a doctor." Luna looked amazed. What happened to that Krillian soldier? He joined the human side. Said any species that would save their enemies was worth fighting for. Jake ordered another round of drinks. "You said humans fought in impossible conditions. What did you mean?" "Humans can survive anywhere," Zekthor said. "We fought you on ice worlds where the temperature was -50 degrees. Most species would die in minutes. But humans put on thick clothes and kept fighting." "That doesn't sound impossible." "We fought you on desert planets where it was 60 degrees in the shade. We fought you underwater. We fought you in space with no air. Humans always found a way to survive." "What was the strangest battle?" Luna asked. "The gas giant Typhon 7. It had a small research station floating in the clouds. The atmosphere was poisoned to most species. But humans lived there for months." How? They wore breathing masks and lived in sealed rooms. When we attacked, they fought us in the clouds themselves, flying small ships through storms that should have killed them. Zekthor shook his head. I watched a human pilot named Alex Stone fly his fighter through a hurricane. The wind was so strong it should have torn his ship apart. But he kept flying and shooting at us. Did he survive? Not only did he survive, he shot down 3 of our ships in that storm. When we finally retreated, he followed us out of the atmosphere and kept attacking. Humans are stubborn, Jake said with a smile. Stubborn is not the right word, Zekthor said. You are impossible to kill. We would hit human ships with enough firepower to destroy a mountain. But humans would patch up the holes and keep flying. We're good at fixing things, Luna said. Too good. I once saw a human ship that was completely destroyed. Half of it was missing. The engine was gone. But the crew rigged up a new engine from spare parts and flew home. What was the ship's name? The Liberty Bell. The captain was a woman named Grace Turner. She refused to abandon ship even when her own officers told her to leave. Admiral Turner, Jake said. I heard about her. She saved a lot of lives. She saved Krillian lives too, Zekthor said quietly. That was the most frightening thing about fighting humans. You didn't just fight for victory. You fought to protect everyone, even your enemies. Is that when you started to doubt the war? Luna asked. Zekthor looked at her with his yellow eyes. No. That came later, when I was captured and expected to die. But instead, I learned something that changed everything I believed about humans. What happened? That's a story for tomorrow night, Zekthor said, standing up. I need time to remember. And you need time to think about what I've told you. Luna turned off her recording device. Will you come back tomorrow? Yes. But bring more recording devices. The next part is longer, and much harder to tell. As Zekthor walked away, Jake looked at Luna. You okay? You look upset. My brother died fighting people like Zekthor, Luna said quietly. But listening to his story, I'm starting to understand why the war was so terrible. War is always terrible, Jake said. But sometimes it's necessary. Was this war necessary? Jake was quiet for a moment. Ask me again after you hear the rest of his story. The next night, Luna came back to the Nexus bar. She had 3 recording devices this time. Zekthor was already sitting at the same corner table, waiting for her. You came back, he said. I told you I would. Luna sat down and placed her devices on the table. Are you ready to continue? Jake brought them drinks without being asked. I want to hear this part too, he said, sitting down. Zekthor nodded. The story gets personal now. This is about the day I was captured by humans. When did that happen? Luna asked. 3 years into the war. I was commanding an attack group near the Wolf 359 system. We were trying to capture a human supply depot. He drank and continued. The battle went badly from the start. Human intelligence knew we were coming. They were ready for us. How? We found out later that humans had broken our military codes. They were reading our messages. But at the time, we thought we were being smart. What went wrong? Everything. When we dropped out of hyperspace, human ships were waiting. Not just a few ships, a whole fleet. They had Admiral Grace Turner commanding them. Jake's eyes widened. Admiral Turner was there? You knew her? Zekthor asked. I served under her later in the war. She was tough but fair. Fair, Zekthor repeated. Yes, that's a good word for her. Even when she was trying to kill us. Tell us what happened, Luna said. Turner's fleet hit us hard and fast. We lost half our ships in the first 10 minutes. My flagship was damaged. We tried to retreat, but human fighters chased us. Did you escape? No. A lucky shot from a human torpedo hit our engine core. My ship was dead in space. The crew wanted to activate the self-destruct. Why didn't you? Because I wanted to understand humans. I thought if I was captured, I could learn their secrets. Maybe find a way to beat them. Zekthor laughed bitterly. I was so stupid. I thought I was being clever. So you surrendered? Yes. When the human Marines boarded my ship, I told my crew to lay down their weapons. I expected to be tortured and killed. That's what would happen if humans were captured by Krillians? Luna asked. Usually. Prisoners are a burden in war. It's easier to kill them. Jake shook his head. That's not how we do things. I learned that quickly. The human Marines were led by a woman named Major Kate Rivera. She was small compared to me, but she carried herself like a warrior. What did she do when she found you? She asked if any of my crew needed medical help. I was shocked. I asked her why she cared about enemy wounded. What did she say? She said, because they're wounded. Like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Zekthor paused. 3 of my crew were badly hurt in the battle. Major Rivera called human medics to treat them. They worked just as hard to save Krillian lives as human lives. Then what happened? I was taken to a human prison ship. I expected a cage and chains. Instead, I got a small room with a bed and a window. They gave me food that was safe for Krillians to eat. Were you interrogated? Yes, but not how I expected. Major Rivera would come to my room and ask questions. But she also brought me books about human history and culture. Why? She said I would understand humans better if I learned about them. She wanted me to see that we weren't so different. Luna leaned forward. What did you learn? Humans have always been fighters. But you also have something else. Something we didn't understand. What? Compassion. Even for your enemies. I read about human wars throughout history. Even in your worst conflicts, some humans always tried to help the other side. Did that change your mind about us? It confused me. Krillian history is different. When we fight to destroy our enemies completely. We don't understand mercy. But something changed your mind, Jake said. Yes. It happened when our prison ship was attacked by a Krillian rescue fleet. They were trying to save me and the other prisoners. Did they succeed? The rescue fleet damaged the prison ship badly. We were going to crash into a nearby planet. The human crew was trying to save the ship, but they were also trying to evacuate prisoners first. Zekthor's voice got quiet. I was in the prisoner section when a human engineer named Tony Clark came running in. He said the ship was going to explode in 10 minutes. Did he help you escape? Better than that. The escape pods were damaged. There were only enough working pods for half the people on the ship. Tony could have saved himself and left us to die. But he didn't. No. He spent his time fixing broken escape pods instead of getting himself to safety. I asked him why he was risking his life for Krillian prisoners. What did he say? He said, because you don't deserve to die just because we're at war. Then he shoved me into an escape pod and launched it. Did Tony survive? Luna asked. I don't know. His pod launched after mine, but I never saw him again. I hope he made it. Jake was quiet for a moment. That sounds like something our people would do. That's when I started to question everything, Zekthor said. If humans were truly evil like our leaders said, why was Tony Clark trying to save my life? So you switched sides? Not right away. I was rescued by the Krillian fleet and sent back to command another attack group. But I kept thinking about Major Rivera and Tony Clark. Did you fight humans again? Yes. But my heart wasn't in it anymore. I kept seeing human faces in my dreams. Ryan Walsh treating wounded Krillians. Captain Brooks dying for her beliefs. Tony Clark risking his life to save prisoners. When did you finally switch sides? Luna asked. At the Battle of Centauri Station. Admiral Turner was commanding the human defense. I was leading the Krillian attack. What happened? We were winning. The human station was badly damaged and they were running out of ships. Turner sent a message asking for a temporary ceasefire. Why? There were civilian evacuation ships trying to escape the battle. Not just human civilians. There were Krillian families on those ships too. Jake looked surprised. Krillian civilians? Why? Mixed families. Some Krillians had married humans and lived on the station. When the battle started, they tried to evacuate with everyone else. Did your commanders agree to the ceasefire? Luna asked. No. They said all humans should die, even civilians. They ordered me to destroy the evacuation ships. What did you do? I refused. I told my fleet to let the civilian ships escape. My own officers thought I had gone crazy. What happened next? Admiral Turner sent me a personal message. She thanked me for protecting the civilians. Then she said something that changed my life. What? She said, any commander who protects innocent lives is worthy of respect, regardless of species. When this war ends, I hope we can meet as friends instead of enemies. Zekthor finished his drink. That night, I sent a secret message to human intelligence. I offered to provide information about Krillian military plans. You became a spy. Yes. For the rest of the war, I fed information to humans while pretending to serve the Krillian military. I helped humans avoid ambushes. I warned them about new weapons. Weren't you afraid of being caught? Terrified. If the Krillian military found out, they would have executed me as a traitor. But I couldn't keep fighting a war I no longer believed in. How many lives do you think you saved? Luna asked. I don't know. Thousands, maybe. Both human and Krillian. Every battle I helped humans win ended faster, which meant fewer deaths on both sides. Jake refilled their glasses. When did the war finally end? 2 years later. The Krillian government surrendered when they realized they couldn't win. Too many of their commanders had started questioning the war, like me. What did you do after the war? I was tried for treason by a Krillian court. They sentenced me to exile. I could never return to Krillian space. So you came here? Yes. The humans helped me get to this neutral station. Admiral Turner wrote a letter to the station authorities, recommending me for a job. She helped you even after the war? Luna asked. She said I had proven that former enemies could become friends. She wanted to give me a chance to start over. Do you regret your choices? Zekthor looked at both humans sitting with him. Every day. Not because I was wrong, but because it took me so long to see the truth. What truth? That humans aren't perfect, but you try to be better than you are. You fight for ideals, not just victory. And sometimes, you show mercy when mercy seems impossible. Is that why you agreed to tell Luna this story? Jake asked. Partly. But there's more to tell. The war ended, but the healing is still happening. And some of the most important lessons came after the fighting stopped. Luna checked her recording devices. Are you willing to continue tomorrow? Yes. The final part of the story is about what happened after the war. About learning to live with former enemies. About finding forgiveness. Will it have a happy ending? Luna asked. Zekthor looked around the bar at all the different species drinking together peacefully. Ask me tomorrow night. But I think you might be surprised. As they got up to leave, Jake put his hand on Zekthor's shoulder. Thank you for telling us your story. Thank you for listening, Zekthor replied. And for showing an old warrior that some friendships are worth more than victory. On the third night, Luna arrived early at the Nexus. She had been thinking about Zekthor's story all day. When he arrived, she was already waiting with her recording devices ready. You look troubled, Zekthor said as he sat down. I keep thinking about what you said. About the war and the people who died. Jake brought them drinks. The story getting to you? Yes. My brother died in that war. But hearing Zekthor's side, it makes everything more complicated. War is always complicated, Zekthor said gently. That's what I learned after it ended. Tell us about the aftermath, Luna said, turning on her recorders. The first year after the war was the hardest. Both sides were angry and hurt. Millions had died. Cities were destroyed. Families were broken. What did you do when you first came to this station? I hid. I was afraid other aliens would recognize me as a war criminal. I was afraid humans would want revenge. I found a small job fixing machines and tried to stay invisible. Did anyone recognize you? Yes. A human doctor named Sam Foster. He was working in the station's medical center, treating refugees from the war. What did he do when he recognized you? I was bringing a broken medical scanner to his clinic. When I walked in, he looked at me and said, "You're Commander Zek-Thor Vex, aren't you?" Were you scared? Terrified. I thought he would call station security. Instead, he asked if I wanted some coffee. Luna smiled. Coffee. Dr. Foster said that anyone who had switched sides to help end the war deserved a chance to start over. He became my first friend on the station. What was he like? Brilliant. Kind. He had lost his wife in the war, but he didn't hate Krillians. He said hate would just lead to another war. Did other humans accept you? Some did. Others didn't. I can't blame them. I had been their enemy for 3 years. Jake leaned forward. Was it hard to adjust to peace? Very hard. In war, everything is simple. You have enemies and friends, good and evil. In peace, everything is gray. What do you mean? I had nightmares about the battles. I would wake up thinking I was still fighting. Sometimes I would reach for weapons that weren't there. Post-traumatic stress, Luna said. Lots of soldiers have that. Yes. But I didn't know that then. I thought I was going crazy. That's when I met Colonel Amy Johnson. Who was she? A human veteran who ran a support group for soldiers from both sides. She had been badly wounded in the war and lost her left arm. She helped both human and alien veterans? Yes. She said trauma doesn't care about species. Pain is pain, whether you're human or Krillian. Zek-Thor paused to drink. The first time I went to her group meeting, I was the only non-human there. 5 human veterans sat in a circle, talking about their nightmares and fears. How did they react to you? One man got up and left. He couldn't handle being in the same room as a former enemy. But the others stayed. What did you talk about? At first, nothing. I just listened. But after a few weeks, I started sharing my own nightmares. About Captain Brooks and her ghost squad. About watching human ships ram our cruisers. About the faces of human soldiers I had killed. Did it help? Slowly. The other veterans began to understand that I had suffered too. And I learned that many of them felt guilty about things they had done in the war. Like what? A human pilot named Chris Martin had bombed a Krillian city. He thought it was a military target, but there were civilians there. He couldn't sleep because he kept seeing their faces. What did you tell him? I told him about a Krillian city I had helped capture. We were told it was full of enemy soldiers. But when we got there, we found mostly families and old people. Luna looked sad. War makes everyone do terrible things. Yes. That's what Colonel Johnson taught us. She said the goal wasn't to forget what we had done, but to learn from it and try to be better. Did the group help you? More than I expected. After 6 months, I started sleeping better. The nightmares came less often. And I began to understand something important. What? That healing takes time. And it's easier when you don't try to do it alone. Jake refilled their glasses. When did you realize you wanted to stay on the station? About a year after I arrived. Dr. Foster offered me a better job in the medical center. He said I was good at fixing complex machines and they needed help. Did you take it? Yes. It felt good to help save lives instead of taking them. I worked with human doctors, Krillian refugees, and aliens from dozens of other species. Was that when you met me? Jake asked. Zek-Thor smiled. No. That came later. Tell Luna how we met. Jake looked embarrassed. I was drunk and picking a fight with some Orion smugglers. They were twice my size and I was about to get beaten up badly. What did Zek-Thor do? Luna asked. He stepped in and told them to back off, Jake said. I thought he was going to help them beat me up, since I was human and he was alien. But I didn't, Zek-Thor said. I told the Orions that humans might be crazy, but they were.